What could a dying veteran possibly say in a courtroom that would leave even Judge Caprio silent? Not just thoughtful silence, but the kind that freezes everyone, from the lawyers and the audience to the cameras recording it all. It is a typical morning in Providence Municipal Court, filled with shuffling papers, quiet murmurs, and the bailiff calling names, when an elderly man in a faded military jacket steps forward, his slow, deliberate gait and deeply lined face reflecting decades of life, battles, and loss. At first, nothing seems unusual as Judge Caprio greets him warmly and the case appears to be a simple traffic violation with a small fine, the kind resolved in minutes, but then the man clears his throat and speaks in a low, rough voice shaped by age and something heavier. "Your Honor, I don't have much time left," he says, and the room subtly shifts as phones stop scrolling, pens lower, and Judge Caprio tilts his head, sensing the weight in the man's tone. The veteran continues, explaining that before he goes there is something he needs to say, and in that moment everyone understands this is no longer about a ticket. People lean forward, arms fold tightly, and the court reporter pauses, aware these words may matter more than any record she has ever typed. The veteran looks down at his trembling hands, his silence louder than speech, then lifts his glistening eyes and begins again, slowly and deliberately, words that will make grown men stare at the floor fighting emotion and leave Judge Caprio himself unable to respond, because when a man who has carried the weight of war, loss, and life chooses his final words, people listen. Leaning forward, Judge Caprio asked Maria to tell him about herself and where she worked, and she hesitated, unsure whether honesty might make things worse, before quietly explaining that she cleaned offices during the day and cared for elderly patients at night, sometimes overlapping both jobs, leaving her with only 3 or 4 hours of sleep and relying on her car to travel between them. As the judge reviewed the citations, one at a hospital parking zone, another downtown, and one near City Hall, Maria explained that the hospital ticket came while she was visiting a patient who passed away that night, and she had forgotten to move her car. The courtroom fell completely still, even the clerk pausing her typing, as Caprio sighed and set the papers aside, telling her he saw cases like this often and that while many people were careless, she did not strike him as one, prompting Maria to quickly respond, her voice trembling, that she was not careless at all, only unable to pay. Maria's voice broke as she explained that without her car she would lose both jobs and could not afford the fines or the risk of towing, and the judge turned his attention to the little girl beside her, asking if she had wanted to come to court that day. Emma nodded eagerly and admitted her mother had not wanted her to, but she insisted because she wanted the judge to see that her mother was a good person who helped others every day even when she was exhausted, and she simply wanted to help her for once. As Judge Caprio's voice softened and he asked if Emma truly believed he could help, she nodded again, explaining that she had seen him listen and help people on television and hoped he would listen to them too, filling the courtroom with a quiet murmur as the rain outside began to ease in. Behind the bench, the judge felt that familiar ache of compassion no law book could ever explain. Judge Caprio's voice was soft but curious as he asked Emma to share her wish, reminding her that she had said she could not make it come true without his help. The little girl nodded slowly, fidgeting with the paper in her hands before carefully unfolding it and smoothing the damp creases on the desk, taking a shaky breath while holding the judge's gaze as she spoke in a fragile but clear voice, explaining that her wish was for her mother not to get into trouble that day because it was her birthday. A quiet gasp rippled through the courtroom as Maria covered her mouth in disbelief, whispering her daughter's name, but Emma continued, her courage trembling yet unbroken, saying her mother had been sad for a long time, always apologizing for being tired after working so hard, and that she simply wanted her to be happy for once and wished that someone would be kind to her, just for that day. For a moment no one moved, and the hum of the old ceiling fan grew deafening in the silence as Judge Caprio's expression softened, no longer the stern look of authority but that of a grandfather hearing something sacred. He gently told Emma her wish was beautiful, and as she nodded, she explained there was more, reaching into her small backpack and pulling out a worn plastic jar with its label peeled away, filled with nickels, dimes, and a few quarters that clinked softly as she set it on the table. Proudly, she said she had been saving it for when her mother needed help and thought she could pay some of what was owed, causing Maria's tears to fall freely as she knelt to hold her daughter and whisper that she did not have to do that, only for Emma to shake her head and insist she wanted to. The judge exhaled slowly, overwhelmed, his eyes glistening as he looked between mother and child and quietly asked Emma if she knew how much money it was, to which the girl simply shrugged. The girl admitted softly that it was not enough but it was all she had, and the courtroom became utterly still, with lawyers, officers, and even the camera crew afraid to disturb the moment as Judge Caprio leaned back, his voice thick with emotion, telling everyone that in all his years on the bench he had seen anger, guilt, and regret, but never anything like a little girl who believed kindness could pay a debt. The bailiff turned away, blinking hard, and when Caprio looked back at Emma he spoke gently, saying that maybe, just maybe, her wish would come true that day, because everyone in the room understood this was no longer about fines but about love, innocence, and a kind of justice no law could define. Leaning forward again, his voice nearly a whisper, the judge asked Emma how much she had saved, and she shyly twisted the lid of the jar and replied that she did not know for sure, but the last time she counted it came to $9.23.